Okay, this is going to be a demonstration of solving a Myszkowski cipher, and here's a particular example we'll use. And if you don't know what a Myszkowski cipher is, you can look it up on Wikipedia, or you can go to the American Cryptogram website at www.cryptogram.org and look it up there. In this particular example, where we have a word that we know appears in the plain text of crib is the word question. And to make this demonstration shorter, we'll assume we already know the number of columns in the cipher, which in this case are 6. And so we've written the first 6 letters of the crib on the top line here, Q-U-E-S-T-I, and then there's 2 letters left over that go on the next line, O-N. So the way we want to start solving this is to look for a Q just above O and U just above N. And okay, now let's go to start up the cipher program. Cipher program, we're going to paste the cipher into it. Let me copy it here. And paste. And we're already given that the key length is 6. So in this little box down here where it says enter key length, I'll enter 6. And I'll click the initialize button. Now we see the program has arranged the cipher into 6 columns. You could do this by writing, using strips of paper by hand and writing the cipher down in columns, but this is much faster. Also, the computer has scroll bars here. So you can move the little letters in the column up and down to try to align them. You can also move the column around by dragging them, which we'll see in a minute. Okay, the first thing we want to do is look for Q just above O and U just above N. It might help to know how many Q's and U's there are. So there's a button here called letter count, which I'll click. And it counts the letters, and it says there's only 1 Q, so that should make things easy. And there are only 4 U's, so that's a little harder, but not too bad. 4 U's and 1 Q. And as an aid, we can color these letters so they're easier to spot in the diagram. So there's a button called color letters, which I'm going to click here. And we'll make the Q red, the O cyan, the U green, and the N blue. Okay, so I filled all that in, and I click it, and that should color the letters. Okay, and right here we see in red, there's our Q. We know there's only 1 Q in the cipher, so that's got to be it. Now, Q is supposed to fit just above O, and we see an O just right here. Unfortunately, there's an I in between the Q and the O, so we have to get rid of that I to bring the Q and O together. And this is a Myszkowski cipher, so that means that they probably have a doubled key letter. Okay, and the way we construct doubled or repeated key letters is we take the columns that we want to make the same letter. In this case, it's column A, which contains the Q, and right next to it is column B, so we'll put that in. We check both the boxes underneath the columns we want to make under the same key letter. And when we click a button called Join Checked Columns, which I'll do now. Okay, now you can see the columns have changed from A to B to A1 to A2. And now our Q has been moved up to row 9, and now Q appears just above O the way it should. And the I that had been in between them is now moved over to column A2. And that gives us another check. The letter I has to be in the crib because it's between Q and O, and sure enough, the crib is the word question. The word question does contain an I, so that's encouraging. Okay, so we have Q above O. Now we want to find U above N. And we look here, over here in column F, we've already got a U above N. We don't have to join anything together. U is above N, and if we look at the other U's, we don't see any of them above N. So this is it. And U and N are also in row 9, which is another, excuse me, the U is in row 9, the same as the Q, which is another good sign. Now we want to move the U next to the Q by dragging the column. This is how we drag the column. We go down to the letter representing the column, which is F, and just drag it over next to the Q, next to the column representing the Q. And I'm dragging it, and I drop it, and there it is. Now we got Q and U together. We've got column A1 and F adjacent to each other. So now we fixed up Q above O and U above N, and it's time to find the rest of the crib. Okay, now there's an aid in the program for finding all the crib letters that can be fit into a certain row. This is row 9, and all you have to do to start that routine is click on the row number. There. Now we'll fill in the crib letters that have to go into row 9. That's Q, U, E, S, T, I, and then O, N go into row 10. We've already got those. Now, when I click this routine, like when I click OK, the letters that will fit into row 9 will be shown in green. And if there's letters that don't fit into row 9, if the letters in the crib that don't fit into row 9, we'll get a warning message, and those letters will be colored red. Okay, so I'm going to click OK, and I get a warning message that said crib letters missing from row, and specifically the T is missing. Okay, so I click OK, and the T's are colored in red, and so we can try to arrange the cipher so they will fit into row 9. We see 3 T's down here at the bottom, just above column D and E, just above the column D and E labels. And it looks like if we join column D to column E to get a repeated key letter, maybe this T will move up toward row 9. Let's try that. Check D, we check E, and then we check the button that says Join Checked Columns. There we are. And now we can see there's a T up here that's colored green, and another T right next to it that's also colored green. So we have a plethora of choices for our T. Now we have all the crib letters, at least one letter of each crib letter is in green. Okay, so now we want to try to arrange these letters into the correct order for the crib. We've got Q, U, and now the next letter should be E. It looks like we have a choice. We can use column D1 or column D2. They both contain green E's. Well, we don't know which one is right. Let's try column D1 first. And move that over next to QU, next to the columns with QU. All right, now we slide the slider down to get QUE. All right, now the next letter is S. And there's only one S, and that's in column C. So let's move that column over to the column with E. There. All right, now we've got QUES, and then here's a T in column D2. So let's move that over next to the S. QUST, and then we've got the I. So now we have QUSTION in order. And let's examine the rest of the cipher and see if we can recognize some more words. Okay, we've got QUSTION, and then the letters following that are MHER. Oops, that's not a word. So it looks like our choice of E, we had 2 choices for E. It looks like the choice we made was wrong. So let's swap the 2 columns with E's in them. Those are columns D1 and D2. So we check column D1, we check column D2, and then there's a button down here that says Swap Checked Columns, which I just clicked. And now we've got the alternate E in column just after the QU, and so let's move, say, the slider down to make QUEST. Okay, now we got to move this slider down to put the T in place. Okay, so once again, now we have QUSTION question. And now the letters following it are much better. It's THERE, question there, seems. Okay, so it looks like this may be the solution. I do have a button down here that says decrypt using current columns. That's sort of cheating, I guess, because you're letting the computer do the decryption given this column order. But it's good. We've really essentially solved this, providing its the decryption comes out right. So let's click on that. And sure enough, we can read the solution. It says